Hello guys, and welcome to my channel again. So if this is the first time, you may consider subscribing to this channel, or if you are coming back, maybe you're watching my tutorials, I also request you to subscribe to the channel. So in this video here, we are going to look at how you can create a CRUD application with the Vue Js and Firebase. So this tutorial is for those people who have a basic understanding of Vue 3 JS and also a basic understanding of Firebase 9, because we are going to use Firebase 9 SDK, which is totally different from the way we used to interact with Firebase 8 SDK. So this is the application that you are going to build. This is just a prototype of the application you're going to build. So for example, you can see we are assuming that we are going to create cities. So like we can call it cities CRUD, create, read, update, and delete. So we can start from, you can see here we have very simple menu because I'm not focusing on the UI, I am focusing on the functionality. And here you can see we have the add city tab. Here the navigation bar, you have this add city. And once you click there, you get this form. So here you can enter the name of the city. So for example, New York. And then the county. You can add anything you want. Also New York. And then the country. You can add here the country as the US. So you can click on create. And once you click on that button, you can see the alert saying that a city added. And when you click OK, it takes you to the home page where you can see New York City has been added. So that is the create functionality. So the read and update functionality, we can click on this, like this city, Washington, this way. You can just click on it. And once you click on it, you can see it opens that specific city data or information where we can edit. We can change this, we can remove that, and just add city edited and updates. And you see you get this alert document updated successfully. And once you click there, you go back to the home page, and sure enough, you can see it has been updated. And if we refresh this page, the data has been updated. And it is interacting with the Firebase SDK. So so it means that this data that you are adding, when you add a city, just like any city information there, and save, that data is basically being stored in our Firebase Firestore cloud database. Okay. So for example, you have added, you can see it is here. We can edit. And once we save it, it has already been updated, and when we come back, you get it here. Right, so what we want to do, I want to start with showing you how to set up a Vue Js 3 application, Vue version 3 application. And then as we do that, we are going to do our Firebase settings that I'm going to show you. So let's try now to test the delete functionality. You have seen the create, you have seen the edit, update. Now we want to look at delete. So that is, you can see, you can view the information, you can also update. Now let's go to delete. Let's just click on delete, and you see it says document with the ID of this ID has been deleted. And when you come back, you see it has been deleted here. And you can also delete New York, and you see the data has been deleted. Okay, now that is it. This application is simple, but you're going to learn a lot of things about how the Vue Js interacts with the Firebase SDK. So let's get started. The first thing we want to do is to install CLI, Vue CLI, so that we can use the Vue CLI to create a Vue application. So if we just go to the Vue CLI, you can just Vue CLI, you can get this information how to install it. It's just npm install -g Vue CLI. So it is going to install Vue CLI, our command line interface on globally. With Vue CLI, you can install it from any directory. So I just want to paste it there. I have already installed it. What is the problem? So we just do npm install -g at vue /CLI. So that is okay. I don't know, I used capital letters. So npm install -g at vue/CLI. So that is the command, and you hit enter. What it is going to do is to install Vue CLI globally, so that we can get it, or we can access it from anywhere in our computer. All right, so as that installs, of course I have already installed that, so I don't have to do that. So you just do this so that the command, let the command run, and it is going to install Vue CLI if you don't have it. But I assume that if you are following this tutorial, you are familiar with Vue 3, meaning that you know how to install Vue CLI, but I didn't want to assume that. So let's just close that. And now that you have the Vue CLI, what you do now is to create a Vue application. Okay. Now you go to the folder from which you want to create your application. So for example, I am in program projects, personal, and then you have Vue. Now inside here, that is where I want to set up the Vue 3 application. So what you want to do is just to open the terminal from here. So I'm using Git bash, so I'll just open Git bash from there. And then I'll just do Vue create and then the name of application. So Vue create and then the name of the application. So I just want to call it Vue 3 Firebase 9. Okay, Vue 3 Firebase 9, that way, and you hit enter. So this is going to create a Vue application in this specific folder where we open the terminal. So the first thing, you have to select the configuration that you want. If you want the first one, you can select it. If you want this one, you can select it. Alternatively, you can install manually, but let me just use I don't know if I should do. Don't install this. The second one is going to install Vue 2, but what you want is Vue 3. So I don't know, but alternatively you can select the features manually, so that you can choose whether you want to install ESLint or not. So basically, let us do this. Let us just, I don't know if we can do it manually, but let's use the default one there. This default one is going to install Node SaaS, Babel router, Vue router. Let's go with the first option. So just hit enter, and it is now, you can see it has created that folder here, and it is now going to install all the dependencies that we need for Vue application to run. So at that, as it installs those dependencies, what you want to do is to set up our, so the next thing you have to do is to go to Firebase. So just search Firebase and hit enter, and you see you have here firebase.google.com. That is the link you want to click on, and make sure that you are logged in with your Google account. So as you can see, I'm logged in with my Google account, and when you do that, you are going to see go to console, right? You are going to see this go to console. So you just click on go to console, click on that button, and you see it is opening Firebase here. So what you want to do, these are your projects. So basically, these are your Firebase projects. So what you want to do is to add a new project. You just click on add project, and here you just enter the name of the project. So I'll just do Vue 3 Firebase 9, right? So basically, that is what I'm going to call the application or the project, and then you hit on continue. The next phase is, of course, the Google Analytics are enabled by default. If you want to disable them, you can just click on disable here, right? Then you click on continue, and then the account, you can now select your account here. So these accounts will depend on the email. It will depend on your emails, the emails. Okay, but let me just go to previous, probably so that we can be on the same page. Let me just go to previous, and I'm going to turn off these analytics, and I'm going to create project, and it is going to create your project. And our Vue application is installing there. Now this will depend on the speed of your internet and also the speed of your machine. So after the project has been created, you just click on continue. And now it is going to take you to this dashboard where you can see your project here. So this project, you can integrate with the authentication, you can integrate with the Firebase database, which is or the real-time database. But what you are targeting in this tutorial is the Firestore database. So just go ahead and click on this Firestore. But before that, let's get the code. So for us to get the code, you want to click on this button, web. So just click on that button. It is going to take you to this interface here. And just call it the same name, Vue 3 Firebase 9. And if you want hosting, you can do that. You can click on that, but I don't want. So basically, I just click on register. And now, after clicking on the register app, it is going to give you this information. So this information is very important. It's going to give you this information and how you can use it. So if you are embedding this information, or you are embedding the Firebase SDK in your HTML files, you could use this. You can use this the script tag if you want. But then, since you are going to use npm to install Firebase in our Vue application, what you are going to use is npm. So you are going to use npm install Firebase, but that will do after our application has been set up. Okay, and it has been set up. So you can see basically what you want to do is to cd. Since this application has been done, is done installing all the packages that we need, you just move into that directory by doing cd Vue 3 Firebase 9, and you are there. And now we just want to open that project with your editor. I use VS Code, so I'll just do code to open that project from that folder. But alternatively, you can just come to that folder and right click and open with VS Code if you want. Okay, so that's it. Now you can see this is our project. I don't think, okay, I believe that you understand the structure, the folder structure of Vue 3 application. Basically, you have this public, this where we have the index.php, we have the index.html, I'm sorry for that, where we render our application. You can see this div app, that is where we render our Vue instance, the Vue application there. And then inside the source, we are going to spend a lot of time inside the SRC folder. You can see I have the assets folder where you can store our assets like if you want to store images, etc. And here is where you're going to store the components, our components. And then this we have the router. So the routes of the application are going to set them inside the index.js here. And inside here we have the Vue file. So these are basically, you can take them as pages, the pages that you are going to render when the routes change. All right, so let's run the application and see what the interface looks like. So we'll just do it has given us instructions here. You just do yarn serve. So just do yarn serve, right? And it is going to start the server, and you are going to look at the application. Right, now there we go. You can see it says that the application is running at this. So it is localhost port 880. So just want to copy that. And then we will go to the browser and paste that URL. And you can see this is our brand new Vue 3 application. Okay, you can see this is the home page. This is the about page. So basically what you want to do is to clean the home page. So let's just go to the home page. But before that, let's finish with the Firebase configuration. So we were at this point where we were given this instruction, how to install Firebase, and also we were given this information for initializing the Firebase instance using these configuration details. So what you want to do, you can just do npm install if you used npm, but you can see that in my case I used yarn, right? So I'm just going to open another terminal in that directory. I'm just going to right click and open there, and then here what I want to do is to install Firebase. So just do npm. I'm not going to use npm, I'm using yarn, so I'll do yarn add Firebase. Okay, yarn add Firebase. So that is going to install Firebase in our application. But then if you are using npm, you just do npm install Firebase. So as it installs Firebase, let's go back to the configuration. So you can see we have these details here. Those are once details. So we can continue to console. Now we have our details, they have been generated. So once it takes us back to the console, you can see now we no longer have those buttons here. But then how can you access that configuration code? So you can just click on this, and then you can see here, you can click on this button, setting button, and it will take you to your application credentials or details, and you can just come here and get those details. Okay, now let us set up this in our application. So what you want to do is to create another file inside the src folder here. We are going to create another file. I'll just name it firebase.js and hit enter. And here we are going to now initialize, this is where we are going to initialize the Firebase SDK and use it across our components. So the first thing we have to do, I don't know if it has already installed. Okay, it is still installing. But basically, let's just get these credentials. Let's just get all these credentials and come here and paste there. So just from this SDK, a few things you will notice that the way we used to initialize Firebase SDK in Firebase SDK in Firebase 9, it is totally different from how we do it in Firebase 9, right? So you can see here, what happens here is that we import each module. We no longer use object-oriented way of doing it. So you can see, like if you want to initialize application, we import initialize app function or module. So basically this is going to call these modules initialize app. So this helps in a way that, so we don't have to import all the modules plus those that we don't want to use in that specific component. So for example, here we just import initialize app function or module, and that one we can use to initialize the app. All right, and Since we are going to use Firebase Firestore, we have to import it as a function or a different module. So just do import get Firestore. So the best thing I can do, I can just do from from Firebase / Firestore. Okay, now Firestore has many modules that we can use. For example, we have the module you have the module for getting the collection. You have the module for getting a specific single document. You have the module for getting documents. And we have the module for deleting. Okay, so all these you import them as independent modules. This time in Firebase 9. So here we want to import get Firestore. So get Firestore. Now you can see as I write, those methods or modules are suggested to you. So I just want this get Firestore, right? And I'll tell you why we need it. So to initialize the application, you can see they have initialized it here. So basically it is app is equals to initialize app, and then you pass there the configuration. Okay, but now that our application we have installed, we have used the ESLint is here, so there's no variable that you cannot declare variable and not use it. So we have to use this one. But before that, what you want to do is you have the app, you have initialized the app, but you have imported Firestore, but you've not used it. So after initializing your Firebase SDK here, after initializing Firebase SDK here, you need the database. So the database we are going to use, we said that we have two databases. You have the Firebase real-time. You can see you have the Firebase real-time database and also Firebase Firestore. So the database that we are going to use, we said that it is Firestore. So for us to get the Firestore database, we can just import it using the get Firestore module. So get Firestore, that is going to import that Firestore database here. And now that we have the database here, we can just do this. You can initialize the database. You can just do const db is equals to get Firestore. So now we use the module for getting the Firestore database. Just do get Firestore, and then we pass there the app, and there we have our database now. Right, now that we have our database, we want to refer to a specific collection which we are going to interact with. So in this case, we've not created that collection, but with Firebase, it automatically creates the collection that you reference. So for example, we can just do this collection. You can just call it const cities collection. Okay, you can just say cities collection, and now basically we don't use the old way of doing it. So we call it like we refer to that specific collection. So for example, cities collection ref, you can just call it cities collection reference is equals to, and now we import the collection module here. So just you have to pass their collection like that. And now since we have the collection as a separate module, we can now use it here. So we have already imported it here. Now we can just do this collections, and then you pass there the DB. Okay, you pass there the DB, and also after passing there the DB, you pass there the collection name. So cities. So this cities reference will be referring or will be connecting to the cities collection in our database. So basically that is it. You can save it, but you see it is error. So after saving it, you have initialized this collection. You are going to use it across our components. So what you want to do is to just export default. So export default cities collection. Yeah, and that is it. So after we've done that, we are done. We are done with initializing Firebase SDK. But then if we try creating, if we try adding any item to this cities collection, it is not going to work because of some security settings we have to do. So let's just go back and click on Firestore database there. Okay, so now if you click on that, you can see up here you have this button, create database, and that is the button you want to use. So just click on create database. After clicking on that button, you can see you have start in production mode and start in test mode. So what you want to do, you want to select this start in test mode because the application is running in test mode, and then you click on next. So this will give you a period of 30 days, okay? But then after that, they are going to disable the application. So after that, of course, you have this warning and you just want to ignore it and click on enable. But if your application is running on production mode, make sure that you set your securities well. All right, now you can see it has taken us this interface. Now after that, you can now add a collection. Okay, you can add a collection there. Now after doing these settings up to here, now we are ready to interact with the Firebase, our Firestore database. Now we will go back to our application here, and the first thing you want to do is to just clean. We just want to clean the home page. So here, let's just remove this component. We don't need it. And we also need to remove this. And here we don't want it to. Let's just remove it. And here we can just do maybe H1 or H2. H2. And you can just call it cities and save it. So after saving that, if we go back, you can see just have cities there. So we have about page there. We can just leave it and create another page. But about page, you can write there whatever you want. Home page, you can just as at now you can just leave it that way. Now here we want to add a few pages. We want to add the page for adding cities and also the page for editing cities. Okay, so what you want to do is to right click here and add. And just create add city dot view. Hit enter, and you're just going to do that that way, and you can just do H2 again and call it add city. Okay, now that we have created our add city component here, we can go back. We can go to the router, index.js there, and you can import that component. So you can just do import add city from views slash add city. All right, now you have that add city, and now you can see how the router works. So basically just define the routes, and then you initialize this create route, and then you pass their history and the routes. So what you want to do is just to use these routes here. You just copy this and paste it below, and the path is going to be add city. And you can call it whatever you want, add city, and then the component that you want to be rendered, every time you visit that route or that component. The component is going to be add city, and that's it. So after that, we'll go to the app.view, and we are going to add here another route. So just copy that, paste below, and it's going to be to the route that you just created, add city. And here we can just do add city, right, and save it. And now when we go back to application, you can see now we have a new link, add city, and when we click on it, it basically takes us to the route that you've created. So here we are going to have a bootstrap form there. So let's just install bootstrap in our application. Okay, so what you want to do, it install bootstrap. Let's do this. Let's just do npm install bootstrap --save, and it I'm using npm, so I'm just going to use yarn add bootstrap, and hit enter. So it is going to install bootstrap. So you can see it has installed bootstrap 5. And for us to use bootstrap, we'll go back to the app, not there. We'll go back to the main.js, and from here we'll import bootstrap. Okay, so let it install first. So it needs popper.js. We need to install popper.js. But let's try it now. So I'll just import bootstrap. So import bootstrap. Okay, just import bootstrap, and then we also need to import CSS. So import dist, I think it is bootstrap /dist /css /bootstrap.min.css. So just make sure that you import them that way, and we'll go back to application, and you get this error because it needs this dependency. We have to install it, so you have to install popper.js. So let's just do yarn add popper.js. So I'm using yarn to install these packages, but if you are using npm, you just do npm install and then the package name. Alright, it has been installed now. I hope it should work. So if it doesn't work, I think you can just restart our application again. You can just restart it again. So from the from the error, it says that popper.js is not installed. So I've just searched for that module, and it is this one, popper.js core. So that is what you want to install. So just copy it and come back to the terminal and paste there. But since I'm using yarn, I'll just remove npm and do yarn. So I do yarn add that, and after that I can just do yarn. We can just run the application because I had stopped it, so we can just do yarn serve, and now you can see that our application is running without any problem. Okay, so after that, after now we know that bootstrap is working in our application, so let's just go to the add city, and here we are just going to remove this and create a container, a div with a class of container, and inside there we can create another div with a class of row. Inside there you can create another div of class call md6 and call offset. Okay, you can just get call md6 and then another one offset offset MD3. So basically it is going to create a centered div, and you will add that. So if we go back, you can see it has, if we go back here, you can see it has created the centered div, and inside here we just want to create a bootstrap form. So let's just go to the browser and search for bootstrap form and hit enter. So here we now have this form. We just want to copy any form. You can use any form as a matter of fact. I copy the code there and come back here and just paste. Make sure this is closed. And first we are going to remove the fields that we don't have. For example, we don't need. We are going to remove the fields that we don't need. Like we don't need them up to here. This one, instead of email, we just remove. I don't think we need the labels. So I don't think we need the labels. Let's just close that div. Okay, but let's just copy this and paste 3 times because we need first the city from the application. You need the city, and then you need the city county, and finally we need the country. Okay, yeah, so that is it. So just save it that way, and if we go back to the city now, you can see how it looks like. But I don't think I don't know why that text is. We can just remove these labels. I don't think we need them. I don't think we need them. You can just use placeholder if you have to. We can just add placeholder here. We don't need the ID, so we can just add placeholder. This is going to be country. Okay, so let's just copy this, and we are going to paste here, and the type, let it be text. Let the type always be text. Here type should also be text. This one is going to be county, and then finally this is going to be city. Okay, so the city, we don't need this ID here. I'll just remove it, and that is it. That is it to the simple. You can see our simple form, but we need some padding there. We can just add another class, margin. You can just add margin bottom of 2. Yeah, margin bottom of 2. And now you can see I have some spacing here. And we have the button. I don't know where the button went, so you can just add there button. You can just do create city, and you can just give it a class of btn primary. So of course, maybe this requires you to have some knowledge of Bootstrap. Okay, so now you can see you have our beautiful form, beautiful in quotes. We have a beautiful form here. From where we can add city. So let's just remove this label there. All right, now we have our beautiful form here. So that is for adding. So that is for adding, and then you have the display functionality. Let's just get list, bootstrap list. So for the list, we are just going to click on that. We are just going to get a list that you are going to use, a list group. I'm interested in that, so let's just copy this and go back to the home page. So we are going to list those items in the home page. So in the home page here, we're just going to create a container, a div with the class of container, and then a div with the class of raw, and then a div with the class of call MD6 and call, okay, and offset MD3, offset MD3. It's also going to create a centered div. I mean, it's going to create center. It's going to center the content. So if we go back home, you can see that you have the content centered here, and these are not visible. But here we are now going to add the other button. So we are going to assume that these are the cities that we have created, and these are here we are going to have the edit and delete buttons. So let's go ahead and add those buttons here. Inside this span, we're just going to remove that. The first one, because all these others we are going to loop through all the cities that we've created and display them. So here what you want to do is to add href, but then you're not going to add the href in the normal way. So we are going to use the router link. So remember we have the Vue router working, so we're just going to use router link, and then router link has a property 2 is where that link leads to, and here I want it to lead to the edit page. Okay, so this is going to be edit button, and it's going to lead to edit page. So here we'll just define their path, and path you are just going to set path to so you can just do path, and path you can just do this. It is going to be, the path is going to be dynamic, so it is going to be to lead to cities, and then we have we will pass there the ID of that specific city, right? We can just do ID or cities, maybe another some crazy ID there. But then remember we don't have this route there, so you have to go back and you have to create the page, the edit page. Here we can just give it a class of you can just give it a class of btn primary. So that is the edit. So if we go back, you can see you have the edit button there. But if we click on it, it's not going to work because we have not defined this route in the router. Okay, so that is going to be edit button, but again we can just do another one, and this one can just be a normal button. So you can just do a normal href. So you can just do href, just a normal one, and you can just do that, and you can just do delete. But then you can give it some classes for styling, which is btn danger, and that is it. Now you see the first one, you have the edit and you have the delete button, and if you want you can come to the, you can add here another, you can add on this, you can add a class of margin left of 2 something, I don't know. Okay, that's better. We can just use it that way because you're not concerned so much with the UI. So this is how we are going to display our cities, but then you can just remove this static. We don't need that. We are just going to loop through all the cities and display with the first design that you've done. So it means that we don't need this. So from here we just remove these li elements and save it. Right now we have another one. We need to remove it. Let's remove that, and now we have this one, just a prototype of what we are going to, how we are going to display the cities from our Firestore database. Now that we have that, let's create the edit. Let's create the edit view or component. So just create edit city dot view, and then basically you're just going to copy this form and you're going to paste here, and after that you're going to go to the router and define that. So you're just going to import edit edit city from views / edit city. Yeah, and after that you are going to define the route for it. And the route, remember we defined it here as it is going to be cities, and then the ID of that specific city, that ID is going to come from the database. So remember that very well. Okay, this is very important. So how do we define that? Because that is a dynamic route, what we do here, we'll just call it cities slash we can just do city ID. So this is going to be the ID of that city. That is very important, and the component is going to be edit city, and just save it. So now if we come here and click here, you see it takes us directly to this edit city. So let's just change this to edit, and then here we are going to change it to update city, so that you can differentiate it from the add city and the edit city. So let's just go back to home page and click here, and you can see it takes us to the edit page. Now for this time we have managed to do the UI, the way it is going to work, but with zero functionality. This is just a static functionality or a static page. And here I don't know why you don't have that. It looks like you have some error. It says re-render. I don't know what is it saying. So let's go back to the router. The name we have to change. So let's just change this name to edit city, and save it. And now we have it working. Okay, now you have the home page, you have the add city, and from here you can go to the edit city. That's great. Now let's now start with the functionality, and we are starting from add city. So this add city functionality, how does it work? So let's go to the add city, and from add city, what you want to do, you can, you know that here in the Firebase here we created the reference to that specific collection, which we call it cities, and you want to import that cities ref. Okay, so let's just go to the add city, and up here we want to import a collection, the cities ref. So you can just do import cities ref, cities collection ref from, so we are just going to import it from that file, which is Firebase. So from Firebase there, that's it. So after importing, what you want to do is, now we have the cities ref. How do we now add? What do we need to add? Which modules do we need to add a city, or to add a data to the document? We can call it a document. So in Firestore we call them documents. So what do we need, or which modules from Firebase do we need to be able to add a document to the cities collection? So the first thing we need to import a few things from Firebase/Firestore. So Firebase/Firestore. So the first thing we need is add doc. Okay, that is important. We need add doc, and that is going to help us when we are creating a new document, or we are creating a new record to the Firebase to the Firestore database. All right. So that is the more we need this add doc, because we already have the reference. The reference is there. So for us to add, we need the reference, and then we need this module for adding the doc. Now, at what time are we going to call that? So that we are going to talk about it later. But for this time, let's just define these fields inside this export default object. So what you want to do, you just want to define data as a function, and what you want to do is just to return object, and in there we are going to have and we are going to have city. We just set it to null. After city, we have a county. We set it to null, and after that, we need to add their country. We just set it to null. Okay, actually, I forgot this city. It should be name, not city. It needs to be the name of the city. Okay, so just set it to name. This one you also set it to null. So let's just change it. We can set the model. We are going to set here a Vue model. So we can just go to the first input there, change it from email to text, and add their Vue model, and we just refer it to name. We connect it to name, and then here we can add a Vue model. We call it county, and finally here we add Vue model, and that is going to be country. A country. Well, that's good. Now that you have our data here and we have linked our form we have done what we call two-way data binding. So the changes that happens in these data objects are going to change here, but if you change here, it is also going to change here. So after that, we have this create. So when this form is submitted, we want to create that doc. So just going to define here at submit. We are just going to call at submit event at submit dot prevent. So basically dot prevent is to prevent default, or to prevent it from being submitted. And then we just call a function create city, and that one we are going to create it. Okay, can leave it that way. You can just call create city. All right, now that we have it there, we have to do methods here, and under methods we are going to have that method create city. Okay, so when you click on that button, this method is going to be called. Right, now for us this is going to be a async method, because it is good. We can use async. It is good to use promises when we are doing these operations, adding or fetching or deleting documents from the file store database. So you can just get a async method, async create city. And what do we need to create a city? So I said that we need add doc, and you have already imported it from file store, and we also need collection, right? So basically what you want to do is just to console.log creating documents, right? So let's just save that, and we want to test if it is working. Okay, okay, it is not working because of ESLint, and because of this we have not used this. So what you want to do is we can just do we have the cities ref there, or we can just do we have the cities ref already there. So what you want to do is to just add docs, right? So you can just do const added doc is equals to await await. Now we call add doc. Now remember, we are calling this module to add a new document. Add doc there, and what do we pass there? We pass there the cities reference. We add there the collection reference. The collection reference is here that we just imported it from the Firebase. Here you can see here, and basically it refers to the cities collection. So you can see we are using the cities ref, and there we need to pass there the data that you want to add. Okay, so basically that data is going to be this, and we can just get that data by doing this dot data. You can just do this dot data. It's going to add, because you only have this, it is going to add those. Okay, and now we can just try to console.log added doc. so that so that we can do away with that error there. Okay, now let's test that. So let me just add Nairobi, a county. I'll just add Nairobi again, and then the country, of course, it is Kenya. So just do Kenya, and I click on create. So I've not seen anything unless you open the console and maybe look for anything there. So you can see it has created already. It's saying creating document, and then you have the document here. We have the ID of the document, you have the path and other details. And if we go back to here, you can see we did not have any collection, but if we refresh, we should have cities collection, and that cities collection should have that one document that you've created, right? And there you go. You see you have cities, you have this collection, and you have this data that you've just added there. Now we are done with our add, but then I want us to do a few things. After the document has been added, what I want us to do is to reset this data, and then of course to alert that the document has been added. So here, what I want us to do is just to do alert document added successfully or created. You can just do document created and successfully, right? And after that, what you want to do is to go back to the home page, or you can just go back to the home page. So for us to do that, we can use the router by doing this .router .push, and you're just going to navigate to the home page. This is the home page, right? And that is it. That is it. So let's just copy that. No, it is not. That is not it. We have to clear this data first. But then if we go to home page, it will automatically be cleared. Now let's try again. So Kampala, Kampala. The country is Uganda. And I just click on add. And you see we have alert document created successfully, and here we are on it took us back to the home page. That's great. Now that is creating. Now I want to look at the functionality. We are done with the creating. Now we can look at the displaying those documents functionality. Okay. Now, which modules do we need for us to be able to fetch documents from a specific reference? And you are right. The first thing you have to import cities collection ref from Firebase file. Firebase. And after that, you need to import a few modules from Firestore that we are going to use. So the first one that we need is we need the collection. Actually, we need import. Okay, let's just define that from Firebase. So apart from the cities ref, we need a few modules. The first one, you need get docs, and that is what we want to use. It is called get docs, and basically this helps us to get docs from Firebase/Firestore. Actually, you need to do Firebase/Firestore. Okay, so you have get docs, and let's just go with that first. All right, let's just go with that first because we are dealing with importing the docs. And now, at what time are we going to get these docs? Let's just define the data object here. You can just do data, and then we just return there. And what we are going to have, documents. We can just call them cities. We are going to have cities, and we're just going to set it to empty array like that. And then here, what you want to do, now that you have this, you want to loop through all these cities and display each there. Now, how do we do that? So here inside the li tag, we just want to do v for city in cities, and then we can just define the key. The key is going to be city.id, and then from there we just want here to display the city, the name of the city. So just going to be city.name. Now, if after you save that, if you go to one page, you are going to get that error because you have not used this variable that you've declared there. Now, when that component is created, that is the time that I want to fetch the docs and update these cities array. So how do I do that? So I'm just going to create a method. I'm just going to create a method subject, and I'm going to do async. I'm going to do a sync function there, async fetch cities. I'm just going to call that function fetch cities there. Okay, and the fetch cities basically it is going to fetch the cities, right? So how do we have, for us to get the city snapshot, you can just do let city snapshot. So when the data in Firestore changes, it is going to give you to return back the entire data plus the one that has been added inside that specific collection. In this case, you are referring to cities. So just going to city snapshot is equals to await, and now we call this module get docs. And inside get docs, we pass there this specific reference. So we are getting documents in the cities collection reference. So cities collection ref. All right, and this is going to give what we call a snapshot, and the data is inside that snapshot. Okay, so for us to get each specific, let me just try to console.log that city snapshot, so that you can see what I'm talking about. Now we can save that, and when this component is created, so we just created, just that they are created, and that is where we want to call this a method fetch cities. So we are going to call that method when the component is created. A life cycle is in created life cycle. So let's just save that and go back, and you can see that it now brings back this data. Now this is the snapshot. The snapshot has methods and has other things, and the document, the docs or the data is in there. Now you can see the docs is one of the parameters that is in this snapshot object. So you can see here we have the data that you've just created. And for you to arrive inside the data, you have to go inside. You have the documents, and then you have the document. Then from there, now you have the data. You have the value and all those things. There is a method that we use to get those the data, right? So we have to look through the snapshot and get the data. Okay, so how do we do that? So inside here, since we have the snapshot, we can just do this. You can just create a new array. Let me just go step by step. So let's do this. We have the snapshot. We can just let docs, let documents. So we can just call them let docs or cities equals to. We can redeclare it because let cities equals to. So what you want to do is to look through this and city snapshot dot for each. So dot for each cities as city, And what you want to do, let us do this. Let us just define cities. Let cities equals to an empty array like that. And then we come here, we loop through this city snapshot, and as we loop through, we want to push each city data inside these cities. So here is what we do. So for a city snapshot that for each city, what you want to do is cities dot push. So cities dot push doc. Okay, we call it city if I'm not wrong. We just want to call city, and we call a method called data there. So this method called data is going to get that specific city and save it. And now, since we have these cities here, let us just try to console log the cities and see console.log console.log city. Okay, cities, console.log cities. And now we can go, and now you can see we have now gotten the data, and now it is array. It is an array of object. Now you can easily manipulate it. Right, now in Vue Js, since we have this data cities, we can basically update this. We can basically update this data here with the cities, the data that we have gotten. So we just do this dot cities equals to cities, and that is it. And now we are going to have our data, and now it is right there. You can see it is being displayed here. Okay, that's great. Now we are able to pull data, but when we click on that, you can see it does not do anything. Now we need what we call ID, and you can see now if we look at these objects, you see that it does not come back with the ID. It does not have the ID of that specific specific document, and we need it. It is very important because we will need that ID for us to delete that specific document, and we also need that ID when we are editing that or updating that document. So how do we approach it? So inside here, we can just do this. We can just do let city equals to empty array. No, we can just let city, not empty array, let city equals to, okay, not that, let single city. Let's just call it single city, but you can call it anything. I'm just using it so that it can be different from this one here. Let a single city equals to city. Okay, we can call it city data, something of the sort. We can just call it city data is equals to city dot, we can just call it city dot data. So this is going to get the data that belongs to that specific city. And then since we have done that, we can also do this. We can do let city data. We have what we call ID. We can get ID by doing city dot ID. Okay, you can just do city dot ID. So city data. Okay, now city data dot ID. So remember, this is object. So this is object, and we are adding items inside that object, and you can add by saying city dot, the item we want to add is equals to the value. Okay, so this method city.id, it is going to get the ID of this specific city. So you can see what we are doing. Now we have the city data there. We have it there. It is getting the data that belongs to that specific a city or document, and then remember this is inside the loop, and then we add ID there, the ID of that specific city, which is going to go to be the city.id. So let me just show you. Let me just show you something here. So I don't know, I think I closed that page, but I just wanted to show you something in the Firebase docs. But basically, if you do city.id or whatever you'll call here, whether it is documents or whatever you want to call it here, if you loop through and you do that .id, it is going to get the ID of that specific document. So for us to add the ID inside that this object here, we can just do city.id and then we set it to this city.id, which is going to be the ID of that specific document. And now here, now we can, instead of doing city.pushData here, we can instead do city data. So just cities.push city data. Yeah, and that is it. And now if we save that and look at the object here, you are going to see, let's just refresh. I don't know why we removed, I don't know if we removed console. Okay, we need to log these cities. So cities, you can just do console.log city so that you can see console.log cities, so that you can see the ID of the city now included. And there you go. Now you can see the ID is here. That is so good now. Now having that ID, we are able to edit specific city and we are able to delete. So this ID you are seeing here, it is the ID. You can see this ID. You can see this ID. Look at the first one, 2LN. So that is the ID of that document. And if we come back here, you can see 2LN. That is the ID. So we have the ID of that specific document. We can do operations with it. Now, when somebody clicks here, it will lead us to the edit page. Now, we were passing there static data, this one, but then we can now, since we have the city ID, we can just pass there the ID of the city by just doing this. You can just pass there the ID like that. And that is it now. And also when we are deleting, we are going to call some method, but let's deal with editing first or updating first. Okay, now after updating that, if I click here, you can see it is saying undefined. Oh, it is city.id, city.id. So after doing that, if I go back to home page and click here, you can see now I'm getting the ID of that specific city. And I click here, you can see I get the ID of that specific city. All right, now I've done fetching. We are done now with the fetching the data. Now we need to go to updating the data. So when I click that, I'm taken to this. I'm taken to this edit. Now let's go back to let's go to edit city, and the first thing we have to do is to import cities collection ref. So import cities collection ref from Firebase. And there are a few modules that we need to import to be able to update a document. So we're just going to import from Firebase /Firestore. Okay, so what do we need to be able to update a document? So what the first thing we need to get that specific document. We need to get the specific document. So get doc. Now remember, now we have this method with this function get doc. we have imported it from Firebase, and this helps us to get a specific document from the Firestore database. Now right here we are going to do data. I'm going to just define data object there, or not there, and let's just copy this and go back to the here and paste it there. And here we're just going to return something like that, and here we are going to define selected city. So you can just define a selected city and set it to an empty object like that. Right now, and also we need to get what we call we need to get the city ID. So we can just call city ID and we set it to null. Yeah, those are the things we need for now. We need some other thing I'll tell you when you get there. But now let's just create methods. So methods, and the first method I want to create is get city. Okay, so what does get city do? So when somebody visits here, this URL, what you want to do is to get this specific city's data, right? And now we have this get doc. So this get doc module is going to help us get that specific document. But then we need, for us to get that document, we need what we call document module. So you have to import it. So just do doc. And also we need, let me go step by step. So here I'll just import that doc module, which is going to help us create a document reference. So for us to get a document, we need what we call document reference. For us to create a document reference, we need doc module. I hope you get it. So let's just go let document ref or city ref. Since we are dealing with cities, you can just call it city ref. So city reference is equals to, now we use doc module. We pass there this cities collection, and also we pass there the ID of the city. Now, how do we get the ID of the city? Remember that when we click, we get this ID, and using the Vue router, we are able to get that ID. All right. So we have city ID here. Let's just call it this.city ID, but at this time is null. All right. So how do we get this city ID here? How do we get that specific ID that is passed to that route? Now, when that component is created, so you can just add another lifecycle method created, and inside here we want to get that ID that is in that param, that URL, this specific ID. And how do we get it? So just do let city ID equals to this dot router. So remember that we are able to get this dot route, this dot route dot params. I think it is this dot route dot params, and then of course you get the city ID. Remember we passed it as the city ID. The way you passed it in the router, we passed it as city ID, and that is what you have to call it. So it is this dot route dot params dot city ID. So when the component is being created, it is going to get this ID, and after getting this ID, I want it to update this city ID right away. So what we do is this dot city ID is equals to city ID. So great. So let's save that, and now we have the ref. We have now the reference here. Now, you see now we have we have now our document reference. So we can just call it city ref, specific city ref for document. In Firestore we call them documents. So we have the ref. We are now ready to get the document using the get doc. All right. we can now get doc using the cities ref. Now since we are going to use this cities ref somewhere else, I just want to define it here as cities ref. Let me just call it document ref, and set it to null. And then here, what I want to do now, remember this is the city ID, and now this is going to be document ref. So what I want to do is just to update, just do this dot document ref is equals to city ref. Yeah, and now I am able to use, since this is in this here, I'm able to use it in another method. So since we have now the document ref, we are able now to get that specific document. So what you want to do is to do this. So you just now use this get doc. So just say city, let city equals to let city equals to we use now get doc await. You have to do await. This is a sync function. You have to do that async, and then this is going to be await get doc, and we have to pass there this dot document ref. I hope I'm not confusing anybody. We got the reference here, the document reference here, and we just set it to the data so that we can access it every time we need. So we can see here, and now we use it. We can use it in this method, and we can use it in another method, since it will be existing in the global data object here. Now, now we have the city. We can try to console log the city. Console.log city. All right, now let's try it. So now what you want to do is, after it has initialized, you want to call this method. So after down here, after defining this, you want to call that method this dot get city. Okay, so let's see. Let's go to home. Just open the console, and you'll try to click on a city. And I don't know if you have the city or not, but you have the information here. We have the information, but remember we have the method. You have to pass there the method called get doc. All right, so you have to, the city is going to dot data. So you have to use data here, that method, for us to get that specific. And you can see now it is now logging that object there. Now we have gotten that city. You can see it is the city is Nairobi. Let's go back and click on another city, and you see now it is Kampala. So that's great. And now what remains is to update what remains here. We need to have this. We need to define this. We need to define Vue model. We can just have the same items name, and then here Vue model country, county, I mean, and this is going to be Vue model country. And also those we have to define them here. So you can just do name null, and then so you have county, we set it to null, and finally you have country, and you also set it to null. Yeah, now that you have those name, content, and country, now that you have those, immediately after getting the data here in this method, you want to update this. So remember now a city, you can just call let city data equals to city dot data. And now after that you can update these parameters. You can update name, country, and county. So you can just do this dot name is equals to city data dot name, and after that this dot county is equals to city data dot county, and then this dot country is equals to city data dot country. Yeah, and now we should now get, when we click on a city, we should get information there. Now we can see. Now if we go back to home, if we click on Kampala, you see it is Kampala. If we go back and click on Nairobi, you can see it is Nairobi. Now that's great, except that now that is displaying. You can talk, we can call that that is view update. It is CRUD, create, read. Now this part of reading, up CRUD, okay, create, read, update, delete. So we can now get the data there, the data for specific city we click on. So if we add another city and create it, you can see you have that specific city, and when we click on it, you can get the city information there. Right now, let's work on the updating functionality. So when somebody clicks on here, what you want to call, it is a method. You can just define that method here. At submit, okay, at submit dot prevent is equals to, we're just going to call it update city. We're just going to call it update city, and it's going to be a sync. So we are just going to create another method here, async update city. Okay, and for us to update city, what do we need? So basically we need to get another method here, another module here. It is called setDoc. So import setDoc from Firestore again, and now you come back here. And what do you need apart from, you need the document ref and you need the data for you to update. So remember, that is why I said that we should get that document data, the document reference, you should put it inside the data global object there so that you can access it from other methods. So basically what you want to do is to call await dot setDoc. Okay, no, not dot, await setDoc. And inside there, we pass the document ref. Remember the document ref, we have it here. So we'll just do this dot doc ref. All right. And another one we need is we need to pass the data that we need to update there. And so the data we're just going to define name. Name is equals to, basically what we can do, we can just set this, we can just get this, we can just get this and call it city info. If you want to call it that way, you can just call it city info and add there. Of course, after that you have to update, we have to update here. This has to be city info dot. So city info dot, okay. And after updating that, you also need to update here. So this dot city info dot. This dot city info dot. After that, now here we can just call that city info instead of passing this. So you can just do this dot city info. Yeah, and that is it. It is going to update that. It's going to update that document. And then after saving it, what you want to do, you just want to alert. You can just alert, you can just do city, the city with ID of, and then you get the city ID, this dot city ID has been updated successfully. Okay, so after alerting that, what do you want to do? We want to go back to the home page. So we can just do this dot router, this dot router dot push. So just push to the, just go back to the home page, okay, to see. Okay. Now basically I think that is it. That is all you have to do with the editing. So let's just add edited city and try to update. Oh, it is email. You need to change it, remove it, and make sure this is text. Make sure that is text. So here you can just do edited city, and you see the city with the ID of this has been updated, and click there, and sure enough you can see edited city here. So you can just try this updated and update, and click here, and you can see it has been updated. And even if we go back to the, you can see it has been updated in the first database also. All right, so that is it with the updating functionality. Now we have finished. We are remaining with only one functionality, which is deleting. Okay, now how do we delete this? It is very easy. We will go back to the home page. Okay, we'll go back to the home page, and then when you are on the home page here, what you want to do, remember that the delete button, this is the delete button. So when you click on this delete button, what you want to do at click, so you can just add the click event. At click, we just call delete city. Just call this method delete city. And we have not created that button. I mean, we have not created that method. It means you need to create it. So we're just going to create a sync method, async delete city, and what you need to pass there is the city ID. So just the city ID, and you have also to pass there the city ID. You need to pass there the ID of that city .id. Okay, now if we have the city ID, then deleting is very easy. Okay, it is very easy. It is very easy because you have that. But remember, we need to get for us to delete again. You also need to get the document ref. So you need to import the doc module here, and also you have another module called delete doc to be able to delete it. So the doc module here, it is going to help us. It's going to help us. It's going to help us get the reference of that specific doc. Okay. So let's get the document ref. So when that button is clicked, let's just come here and selected ID. Okay, selected document, and I don't know, we can just set it that and set it to null. Okay, so when that is, let's just create another method and do selected document change. But really, do we need that? We have the ID of each document, so I don't think we need that. So basically in this method here, what we need, we have the doc there. What we need is to just create document ref. So let document or ctref, can just call it ctref, equals to, we use the doc module, and then we pass there the collection reference, cities collection ref. So it is cities collection ref, and then the cities collection ref, and then the ID of the city, which is just city ID. Okay, so that is the city ref. And then we basically, after getting it, we basically delete it. So deleting, just do await delete doc, or we call delete doc, and we pass there the city ref, that specific city ref. And that is it. It will be deleted. So after that, what you want to do, we just want to alert document deleted, or we can just call them city. I mean, we are using city deleted successfully. And then after that, you want to refresh that page. So just for us to refresh, just call the router this dot router dot go. Yeah, and that is it. So let's test deleting functionality. I will click on that, and you see city deleted successfully, and we click on that, and you see it has been deleted. And if we go back, if we go and check the data, you can see you only have 2 documents. You can try adding another one. Added, and you see you have it there. And if we go back here, you can see another one here. I think it is this one. You can see it is there. And let's try deleting it again, and just delete it. And you see it has been deleted. Okay, yeah, so basically I think we've done the Vue Js 3 Firebase 9 application, that is CRUD, create, read, update, and delete. And I know that most of my tutorials, people usually ask for the code. So for the code, make sure just check the description section there. I'm going to leave a link to YouTube. I'm going to leave a link to the GitHub repository where you can download this code. So if you enjoyed this tutorial, make sure you subscribe to my channel for more tutorials. Thank you so much.